Hey viewers, welcome back to the channel. I've got another Warhammer painting video. This time this is on how the Skorpekh destroyers turned out from the Command Edition box set that we got for Warhammer 40k. So here's how we painted up the Skorpekh destroyers, and I went ahead and included the 3 destroyers, and then the Plasmacyte kind of goes along with them, so I'm including that in this. Much like the other painting overview videos that I've done, just gonna kind of show you what paints I used and kind of some of the techniques and how I did it to achieve this result, such as it is, right? So much like the other Necron videos that I've done, the patterns are pretty much the same. So base coated everything. This time I used spray, so Chaos Black spray paint, which worked out really well. And then over that, for all of the brassy areas, used Runelord Brass. All of the silver areas, Leadbelcher. Right, those are the primary colors on here. I did leave, parts on some of the weapons there that are black. I left them just with the Chaos Black primer. And then for the washes, right, all the Leadbelcher silver parts got washed in Nuln Oil, and I tried to do a heavy wash to really get the black recesses to kind of pop, to really make it look at more of a black with kind of silvery, I guess, highlights than silver with black kind of shading, if that makes sense. If you look at the reference art, you know what I'm talking about. I think like the Black Templar contrast paint works really well for this, but I don't have any contrast paint, so this is what I'm using. So heavy shade of Nuln Oil, and I think it worked out well. Something I did different on the Necrons in the Command Edition, both painting like the Warriors and the Scarabs and stuff that I'm not going to show you because I've already done videos on those, but I did it with those and all these new models, which you are getting videos on, is I used a Seraphim Sepia wash over the Runelord Brass to give it more of a copper kind of color. You can kind of see the tone, the little dark shades and tone variances there. I think it turned out really well. There is a shade called Cryptic Armor Shade that was around a little while, and then Games Workshop discontinued it, and that seemed to be the go-to for this kind of shading. And so if I could have gotten some of that, I would, but I didn't. So, Seraphim Sepia worked pretty well. It was a good kind of approximation just to get a little bit of that. I think it gives a little more warmth to the metallic there than just the straight brass. So that worked out well. These Skorpeks kind of like same kind of patterns of color with the other kind of more elite units in the army, right? They've got the Leadbelcher silver shoulder pads instead of the brass. So I went ahead and did that. And then the tricky stuff on these are all of the blades, all these hyperphase blades, trying to match, kind of the reference art and everything, and the shading and the tone. So these didn't turn out as well. The one on the Overlord, which I'll show in another video, that one turned out better than these, and I'm actually halfway proud of that one. These, not so much, but they were okay. You get the idea of trying to get this variation in tone going from dark to light, right, in the blade. And how I accomplished this was to start off with, you base coat the model in black like I did, and then I did some successive layers of dry brushing. I started in the darker areas. I started with start with the black, and then I did Administratum Grey to kind of fill in the midtones, and then I did a layer of white scar on top of that to build a nice gradient, to get this profile. Let's see, maybe you can see it better on this bigger one. It's kind of splotchy. This is hard for me to do. But you can kind of see with the tonal differences going from dark to medium tone and then finally to light, and where they kind of flow across the blade. So dry brushing all of that on, so at the end you'll end up with a black, a gray, and a white blade, and then taking the Tesseract Glow technical paint and painting that over it, and as kind of a glaze, and that will bring out those different shading differences and give you this kind of effect. So in practice, I think it works really well. I need more practice at it, but I mean, I think the technique is solid, and I like the way it turned out. Similar to all these glowing orbs that you see, I painted those with White Scar as a base coat, and a couple coats of that, and then Tesseract Glow on top of that. And some of them are a little messy. You know, you could say that it looks like a little bit of object source lighting, or you could say, oh no, you were just messy. It just depends. Like that one, right? That one's kind of messy, but maybe it looks glowy. I don't know. Versus this one, right, is just a straight green orb. I don't know which one looks better, honestly. But all of this is an experiment, you know, and trying to get better, right? So, and then of course, green glowy eyes. Did I miss that? His eye isn't glowing green. I missed an eye. Wow. Like I've said in previous videos, you see something new every day, right? Every time you look at these, you see more flaws. I missed his eye. We'll chalk that up to battle damage. He took a round to the eye. That works. And so, kind of more of the same with these guys. This guy, right, with his little terrain piece, just a metal beam. So that's just Leadbelcher. The rocks. The rocks are all Administratum Grey. No, the rocks are all, I did Mechanicus Standard Grey, I believe, on that. And then I did Agrax Earthshade as a wash, kind of a brown wash, right, to get a little dirt and grime in there. And then I did a dry brush of Administratum Grey, just a very light dry brush to pick up those edges on the rocks. As you can see, they're just a little bit, just to bring the edges out. So that's it on that guy. See if this guy has any more details. More the same on the rocks. You can kind of see there, same kind of patterns to try to give the rocks a little bit of life and color. I'm not the best at it, but yeah. Again, all of this to me is just an experiment and trying new things, trying new techniques to try to get better. All the bases are kind of the standard fare that I've done, right? Stirland Mud for the base, and then a dry brush of Steel Legion Drab to kind of bring a little texture to it and color, and then Steel Legion Drab around the rim. So now we can talk about the Plasmacyte. Very similar color palette, right? The same brasses, the same Leadbelcher, and you know, and shades, right? I use the exact same shades here. When I did the Leadbelcher on the spine here, I tried to, no, I didn't dry brush it, but I very much tried to not get the Leadbelcher in the recesses of the spine there and leave those black so that I get that contrast. And that's kind of what I was going for. So I'd recommend doing that if you're trying to get that contrast. It works well. And if not, then a heavy shade in Nuln Oil will help as well. Same on the brass tones, right? Seraphim Sepia to give it that kind of a little more warmth of on the metallics. All of the greens, right, are just White Scar, and then the Tesseract Glow. And I think I overdid it on the big eyeball there, and it's got a little sloppy. So I'm not too happy with that, but that's how she turned out. The beam here is kind of stone beam. I did all that in Rakarth Flesh. Rakarth Flesh? Yeah, Rakarth Flesh. And then shaded it with Agrax Earthshade to give it that kind of weathered stone look. And then the little metal piece there is all Leadbelcher, like you would expect. So that is about it for the Skorpekh Destroyers and the Plasmacyte. That's how I painted them. I thought they turned out fairly well. One thing that I would suggest is these are all push fit models, so you don't need any glue, but these models, you can see like their spine, they get really teeter-tottery on the spine, and the torso wobbles. So having some glue to actually glue these in place, I would recommend, so they don't move around on you a lot. Aside from that, that's it. They're very fun models. They're fun models to paint. They're not as fun to play against because they will slice and dice everything in their path. But it's good times regardless. So that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.